I caught my wife cheating, and when she threatened to frame me for abuse if I fought her in divorce, I secretly installed cameras that caught her lying. In the end, I exposed everything. Because of those recordings, she lost all rights to our kids and most of our property. A few days ago, my daughters found a little bunny in the yard and wanted to keep it. I love animals, but we already have several pets, and I knew we couldn't take care of a wild rabbit like that. Besides, it was old enough to survive on its own. So I gently explained to my girls, Olivia and Charlotte, that the rabbit needed to go back home to its family. They were sad, but eventually agreed we should return it to the wild. Unfortunately, I was swamped with work, so I couldn't go with them. My wife, Julia, 42F, said she'd handle it. I told her specifically to take the bunny to the thorn bushes at the far end of our property. It's the safest place because we have a ton of predators around here. I headed back to my home office, and not long after, my girls came sprinting inside, both wailing, with Julia trailing behind, trying to calm them down, saying it wasn't so bad. I asked what happened, and Olivia, the oldest, blurted out, "Mama made us let the bunny go in the middle of the yard, and a hawk took it." She told me all the horrible details, including the sound the poor bunny made as it was snatched away. I was horrified, then furious with Julia for not listening to me. She tried to brush it off, saying it was just a rabbit, and the kids would get over it. I told her flat out that she was wrong. I'd warned her about the hawks, and now our children had witnessed something traumatic. Afterward, both girls shut themselves in their rooms and gave their mom the silent treatment for days. Every time Julia tried to talk to them, they called her the bunny killer. I did my best to mediate, but Olivia and Charlotte were still mad, and honestly, so was I. Julia was angry at me for not taking her side, saying husbands and wives were supposed to back each other up. We ended up arguing, with me pointing out all the times she hadn't supported me in the past. Eventually, she stormed off crying to our bedroom, leaving me feeling like maybe I'd screwed up. So my friend told me to put the story up here. AITA? Edit 1. Yes, I get that hawks have to eat too, and they're everywhere around here. But my daughters are 4 and 5 years old, and I didn't want them to see something that upsetting. I grew up a country boy, so I always tried to make sure wild animals we caught had a fighting chance when released. Julia grew up in the city and doesn't get it, I guess. Edit 2. A bunch of people are saying I yelled at Julia. No, I did not. Where in the post does it say that? I told her off, but it wasn't yelling, not even during our argument later. We whispered so the girls wouldn't hear. I also didn't call her the bunny killer. I'm trying to get Olivia and Charlotte to stop saying it too, because I think it's mean and not something I'd ever call their mother. Edit 3. Sorry for so many edits, but someone implied the kids were playing outside unattended. That's not the case. Julia is a stay-at-home mom, and she was with them when they found the bunny. They all came inside together to tell me about it. Edit 4. I can't believe I have to clarify this, but no, I didn't steal this story from some viral online video. Hawks grab small animals here all the time. We have 4 acres of open, mowed grassland, and besides one tree in the house, there's no shelter. The bunny was like a sitting target out there. I'd told Julia to go to the bushes for a reason. I've dealt with hawks since I was a kid, trying to protect baby chicks with my pellet gun. Hawks love bunnies, which is why I gave my wife those instructions. Edit 5. Please stop telling me about the circle of life or that hawks gotta eat too. When I was little, I had to protect my grandparents' animals from hawks. Farmers protect their livestock. We didn't just let hawks eat every chick. I never aimed to kill a hawk, just scare them, and haven't shot at one in 25 years. The point is, hawks are opportunists, and I knew releasing the bunny in the open was a death sentence, which is why I wanted Julia to do it the right way. If people still don't get why I couldn't go myself, it's because I literally couldn't leave the desk for work. I'm on call unless I'm on lunch break. Update. I'm not sure this is the right place to post, but I didn't know where else to turn. For everyone who remembers, I'm the guy whose wife made our daughters release a wild bunny in the open, leading to a hawk swooping in and horrifying them. That incident is ancient history compared to what's happened since. A lot of people in my old posts commented about Julia's strange behavior, and I started to notice it more. At one point, Olivia told me she had something to say, but she was scared. After comforting her, she revealed that for months, Julia had been bringing over a man, always on Saturdays when I was working, and calling him her special friend. She got the girls to keep quiet with little bribes, but Olivia said she knew it was wrong and wanted to tell me for a while. I started putting two and two together. Julia's nasty attitude, picking fights, and random outbursts, just like she did when she was pregnant. I started to suspect the worst. I bought and hid some cameras, delivered to my office, so Julia would never notice. I set them up while Julia was out one night with friends. The installation was easy. Within an hour, I could monitor the whole house from my laptop or work computer. Almost immediately, my fears were confirmed. Julia's affair partner, Ben, 32 man, is someone she used to mentor at her old job. She's stunning for her age, 41 at the time, and Ben is a whole decade younger, but she had always kept in touch with him. I confided in my sister, Grace, 44F, and showed her the footage from the cameras. She admitted she suspected something too, after seeing Julia out at a bar being far too touchy with a man who definitely wasn't me. Though nothing overt happened in her presence. I bought a GPS tracker and hid it in Julia's car. Grace and her husband, my brother-in-law Jake, 45M, agreed to help. On Julia's next girls' night, they followed her. She didn't go where she'd said. She went 20 miles away and met up with Ben. They observed and even recorded Ben rubbing Julia's belly while talking with her. When I saw that, I realized she must be pregnant, and the mood swings made even more sense. Devastated, I considered drinking myself senseless, but Grace stopped me. Instead, I took a leave from work, pretending to Julia it was a business trip. Julia was practically excited I'd be gone. With Grace and Jake watching the girls for a few days, Julia wasted no time. She called Ben within hours of my departure, and he came over that evening. The cameras recorded everything, including them openly discussing their baby. How to handle things before her belly started to show. Since she was already over 3 months along, and the child couldn't pass as mine, Ben is a different race. Julia was totally cavalier, telling Ben they had months to figure things out and even blurting out that this wasn't her first affair either. She'd cheated on me before at 29. Julia admitted she felt trapped acting like the perfect housewife, and the only reason she'd stayed was my financial stability. Even Ben pressed her about her plans for Olivia and Charlotte, and Julia flatly said I could have them. She didn't want kids that liked dad better when she'd have her do-over baby soon anyway. I was disgusted and shattered. I decided then and there to destroy her in the divorce. The next day, I found the meanest lawyer in town, Sam Keller, 46M. I live in an at-fault state, and with all the recorded evidence, Julia was in huge trouble. Sam initially doubted my story until I showed him some clips. Then he grinned and immediately agreed to represent me. We got to work. A few weeks later, Julia was served divorce papers while I worked from home and the kids were at school. The sheriff handed the documents to her, and the cameras caught her reading them, losing her mind and running into my office to scream at me. I stayed totally calm. Julia threatened to say I'd abused her and get me fired if I took her to court. I shrugged, told her to go right ahead with her lies, and reminded her it would be obvious, given the pregnancy. Julia stared at me in shock, realizing I knew everything. Then she barricaded herself in our bedroom. The cameras recorded her calling the police, faking panic on the phone, but with a sinister smile. When the police arrived, I welcomed them inside, and Julia ran out, grabbing an officer as she wailed about me being a maniac. I asked another officer if I could show him some evidence, and he agreed. The footage told the whole story, Julia plotting to ruin my life, and faking distress after reading the divorce papers. The police saw it all, and when Julia kept insisting I'd hit her, they saw there were no marks and plenty of proof on the footage that she was lying. In the end, the officers cuffed Julia for filing a false report. She started sobbing. Once she was gone, I froze the joint bank account and all the credit cards in my name, making Julia fend for herself. She was fine. She had her own savings. Later, she returned for her car, which I'd packed with her stuff and left the keys inside so she couldn't re-enter the house. Her parents, my in-laws, Mill, Evelyn 67F, and Phil, Walter 70M, came over a day after Julia got out of jail. They were ready to defend her. Her father almost got aggressive until I calmly asked if he knew about Julia's affair and pregnancy. When they didn't, I explained everything and showed them the footage. They were horrified. After apologizing to me, they called Julia on speaker right there. She tried lying, but when they called her out, she doubled down, until they told her to get out of their house and disowned her on the spot, refusing her further calls. Later, I found out from Mill that Julia, before leaving, trashed several things in their home. Mill was in tears, Julia returned only once, with Ben, to pack up her remaining things. She didn't speak a word to me, and Ben wouldn't come inside. Grace and Jake were there with me, and Jake kept watch through the window just in case. When Julia was still packing as the girls came home, she didn't even try to talk to them, not even when Charlotte began to cry. Before leaving, Julia angrily took a few wedding photos off the wall and smashed them on the floor. She stared at me, waiting for a reaction, but since I said nothing, she just took her bags and left. After she was gone, I had my elderly mother, Rose, 72F, come stay because I couldn't care for the girls alone with my work schedule. I ordered DNA tests for both Olivia and Charlotte on advice from several people. Thankfully, both are mine, and I'm STI-free. About a week later, Julia showed up again, saying she'd agree to a clean divorce if I did too, meaning she'd take half of everything. I declined. She admitted she knew the law wasn't on her side, and I told her that she'd betrayed everyone, me, our children, her family, then slammed the door in her face. I didn't see her again until court. By then, Julia was visibly pregnant. She'd retained a lawyer, but Ben was nowhere to be found. Julia tried to play games in court, making all sorts of demands, half my savings, all kinds of property, even for me to buy her out of a house she never paid into. I countered by demanding full custody of Olivia and Charlotte, and proof that Julia had no interest in raising our kids, as shown in the recordings. Julia changed her demands repeatedly and stalled in court, but the judge didn't let her drag things out. This being an at-fault state and with all my evidence, the judge awarded me the house, gave me full custody, and basically left Julia with only her own property and the car I'd purchased for her. The car was in my name, but as part of the settlement, I handed it over and didn't care. The judge also gave her a fair financial payout, but nothing close to what she wanted. $60,000 and the car. That was it. Julia made no move to see the girls through the whole divorce, so when granted partial custody, she voluntarily gave up all parental rights. She was essentially disowned by her parents, and the entire community soon found out the truth about the affair. Julia left with Ben after the divorce. Rumor has it he was transferred for work and she went with him. I have no idea where they are now, and honestly, they could have been sent to the ends of the earth for all I care. Looking back, I should have noticed the red flags a long time ago. I tried to see the best in Julia, but she revealed who she truly was. I'm free of her, and my girls are doing well. Thank you to anyone who made it to the end of this epic story. It's been a ride. Edit. Someone asked how I got Julia's name off the house deed. Simple. Only my name was ever on it according to all bank records. For anyone wondering, the judge was much tougher on Julia, not just for cheating, but because she tried to frame me, almost like having a signed prenup against her. And yes, if you think the police here wouldn't arrest someone for filing a false report, you'd be wrong. Julia got herself arrested because she thought her sociopathic act would work. It didn't. That's it for this story. It's interesting how one seemingly minor family argument, a bunny in the yard, turned into a complete catastrophe because of the behaviors it exposed. In this story, documentation and preparation really made all the difference, especially in protecting the truth and the children's well-being. Here is a question for you. Have you ever had to make preparations to protect yourself from someone you thought you could trust? Would you install cameras if you suspected your partner of lying? Let me know what you think.